What's up, everybody? So being an American living in Sweden, I think it's very, very interesting because first of all, everybody that is like Swedish, born in Sweden, where English is their second language, it's just still shocking to this day, like how amazing people are at speaking English. And for me, I consider myself to be fluent in Swedish now, having lived here for 3 years, but still with like my best Swedish friends, they're just so amazing at English. I mean, in their defense, one of them had lived in New York and Texas for a few years. One of them had lived in London for a few years. So their command of the English language is just like absolutely impeccable, like basically like native speakers. So it's always surprising to me when I hear them make mistakes in English because it's so rare. And having worked in schools before in Sweden and lots of places, I've heard students that are younger, maybe haven't had as much experience learning English. I've heard a lot of people make mistakes, but like my group of friends that are so good at English is very rare. So every time they say something that I think sounds a little bit funny, I'm be like, ooh, I'm gonna write that down and make a video about it because it's so rare that they actually do make a mistake. I mean, I think some of my friends could actually go to native English speaking countries and people might have a hard time figuring out that they're not quite from there because they speak English without an accent, everything. But when they make these sorts of mistakes, it's kind of a giveaway. So I thought it was interesting. I've written down a list of like 5 or 6 things they've said over the last like 3, 4, 5 months because it's so rare. But I just wanted to share it with you guys because maybe if English is not your native language, you're making some of these mistakes too. So this first mistake I think can be a dead giveaway that somebody is not a native English speaker. And this is one that I've heard multiple Swedes say, and this is when you are taking vitamins or taking pills. They'll actually say eating vitamins or eating pills, because if you were to translate directly to Swedish and say it in the Swedish way, they would say eating pills or eating vitamins, whereas native English speakers, I don't think would really say it that way. I would always say, oh, I have to take my vitamins, I have to take my pills. So that is a really interesting one. And if you hear somebody saying that, it's kind of like, I don't think they're a native English speaker. If you are a native English speaker and you say eating pills or eating vitamins, leave a comment down below where you're from because I've never heard it like that. Now this next one also involves the verb take, but this is where people will say take in English where we usually do not use the word take, and that is when you're making a decision. When you're speaking Swedish, you would ta ett beslut, you would take a decision. Whereas I think most native English speakers would say we would make a decision, not take a decision. I mean, when you really think about it, take a decision should make sense. It's just not something that me or any of my friends or family back home that's native English speakers would say. And in a lot of these cases, like eating pills or taking a decision, that's when you translate directly from your native language into that second language, and then it just sounds funny to us native speakers. Now this next one is a completely different category, and this is when there is a word that maybe Swedish people have read or come across in written text, but they haven't heard it spoken a lot of times. And this can happen to me when I learn a new Swedish word from reading it somewhere and I try to pronounce it and I just get it completely wrong. So this can also be tough for a native speaker. But I was talking with some of my friends and one of my Swedish friends said deef, like he was deef. And I was like, okay, deef. Well, I was trying to figure out, I mean, from the context of the conversation, I knew that he was just trying to say deaf, like hard of hearing, like he couldn't hear, he was deaf. But this was a word that he hadn't really come across like saying or hearing a lot of times, or maybe he just didn't really register that deaf was like being hard of hearing. So when he said deef, I gave him a lot of crap for that because I've never heard any English speaker pronounce deaf being hard of hearing as deef. Another example of this that I heard is like a daiquiri. Like if you go to a bar and you order like a strawberry daiquiri, like a drink, a daiquiri. I heard one of my Swedish friends pronounce this daiquiri one time, and I had never heard anybody say daiquiri. I thought that was kind of funny. And these are actually my favorite mistakes because they know what the word is, they know what it is, but when they mispronounce it, it just sounds extremely funny to me. Now this last one I think is a less common mistake for Swedes that have a really good command of the English language, but when this happens, this is just extremely funny. And this is when Swedish people use the J in the English language makes the J sound. And when they pronounce with the J in the Swedish language, it makes the Y sound of what we would have in English, like the Y sound. So sometimes when they'll be speaking English, if a Swedish speaker is speaking English, they will pronounce a J word with the Y sound. So if they're trying to say a sentence, for example, like I went to jail, and they pronounce it, I went to Yale, those are two completely different sentences. One, you're in prison, and the other one, you're at an Ivy League school and you're doing all right. But the one I heard recently that I thought was really funny is they said they don't like to wear Jello. And Jello is like, it's like that pudding substance, you know, it's like Jello that you like eat. You know, you like have the little mixture and it's like red and I don't know, that's Jello. I'll put a picture right here. That's Jello. And I was picturing in my head, yeah, I don't wear Jello. It's like nobody wears Jello. That's gross. But what he was trying to say was, I don't like to wear the color yellow. So when you mix up the J and the Y sound, that can definitely create some very interesting sentences. So that's all I got for you guys in today's video. If you're one of my friends that made one of these mistakes and you're watching this, I'm sorry. I did not mention your names. And just know that I think all of you guys speak amazing English. I mean, even after 3 years in Sweden and having a great command of the Swedish language, we still speak English together, which is just a testament to how great you guys are at speaking English. With that, guys, leave some comments down below. Funny things that you have heard Swedish people say. I think it's really, really funny to read and hear about some of these things. And hopefully you guys enjoyed these ones that I had for you today. But if you're new to my channel, be sure to like and subscribe. Do all those kinds of things. I love having your guys' support, especially if you guys like to hear about these types of things. On my channel, I always talk about Swedish culture, American culture, and my experiences being an American in Sweden. So if you think that's interesting, don't forget to subscribe. But with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.